Hello, Top Fan Rivalry followers, and welcome to Monday. Yeah, that's a little weird. Welcome to Monday. We're doing the weekly review on Monday today. It's a crazy week, Jackson. You were busy. I was busy. I was on a plane. Whatever, right? But is
Bill
it
was too
time?
Bill was too busy smacking dingers in softball all weekend.
So you ready for the stat line, Jackson? Here it
Yeah.
goes. Okay. Supposed to be a 6 inning game. We turned it into a 9 inning game. Okay. 9 innings pitched, 16 runs given up, 14 of them earned, two strikeouts, no walks, and I got the dub.
All right. Hey, no walks, two strikeouts. Pretty good for Slippage. I'm serious.
I'll be here till Wednesday. Tip the waitress off. If you need autographs, I will sign them. It'll be all good. And I also went. Where did I go? I went 4 for 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. No, I went 3 for 5 with four RBIs.
All right. Respectable.
So I got one double, two singles, three RBIs. I came up with the bases loaded three times or twice, and I no four RBIs. I'm sorry, four RBIs. Came up with bases loaded twice. Um, one of them, it was awesome. I was trying to go the other way and I slipped in the dirt as I was turning and I popped it up, which the infielder was playing even with the bag. And I just dumped it right over the lip into the grass, but he didn't realize that the direction that he was turning. And the shortstop was breaking the cover second because he thought, you know, we could turn two on the play. And so the ball dropped in and I ended up with two RBIs in that one. So I'm like, all right, I'll take it. I'll take it. A 102-foot hit for two RBIs with the bases loaded.
Hit them where they ain't. It's the name of the game.
Hey, in the scorebook, it says I went 3 for 5 with four RBIs.
Yeah.
So this just call me Mr. Just call me Bill Otani Perkins. I'm doing it all. I pitched a complete game. I got the W. I got three hits, four RBIs. I love it. Anyways, Jackson, what you got for number one? We're starting it out this week. What you got?
Uh, you know what? Let's start with the National League, the Wild Wild National League.
Wild Wild West.
Yeah. So, for those of you not aware, there's only 4 games of separation between the top three teams. The top two teams get a bye. And then the wild card, there's 4 teams within 3.5 games of each other. And but the craziest part is, I actually read an article that went up today, I think,
Yep.
about this, is they all play each other. It these next 2 weeks of baseball you're gonna want to watch, even if you're a neutral fan, because it's it's ridiculous. Milwaukee plays Arizona, they play, Philadelphia. They start playing Philadelphia tonight, then they play Arizona again after they just finished a 3 game set with them. The Dodgers play the Padres one more time. The Diamondbacks play the Padres. The Mets play the Braves. The Mets play the Brewers. You get the
Play
idea.
the Phillies again.
Yeah, the Mets play the Phillies again this weekend. So it's a lot of baseball, and I'm really interested, Bill, to see how this goes,
Hmm.
because you know, there are a couple teams. The Phillies only really got the Brewers left to play in the Mets, and the Dodgers have a softer schedule. So do the Braves. If they're going to be the beneficiaries of all these other teams really kind of wailing on each other,
Hmm.
um, but I wouldn't put it past a team like Milwaukee to just get absolutely hot and and make it real interesting. If they take 2 out of 3 from Philly or sweep them,
It makes it real
it,
interesting. No,
it gets really interesting.
no. Listen, the same thing happens in American League. We'll get to the American League, but yeah,
Yeah,
this gets incredibly interesting at the end of the season, right? It gets incredibly interesting. I love where you're going with this number one,
yeah, and
Jackson.
and I guess my point is I want to emphasize, we talk about it in April and people are always like it's only April. The games in April count because the teams that have the advantage played well
Hmm.
early in the year. Philadelphia has a massive advantage. It's a 4 game advantage over Milwaukee because they got off to a better start. The
Hmm.
Braves have the luxury of being in this because they started off well and they've weathered the injuries. The same can go for the Padres. They have a bigger cushion because they've been playing more consistent recently. Whereas the teams like the Mets have been the best team in MLB since mid June. Yet right now they're on the outside looking in. So you can't stress the importance of playing well in April, because it puts you in better positions in September, because it really feels like the Mets have to win like 10 of their next 13 games to even have a shot.
Yep. No, 1,000%, one
It's
thousand
crazy.
percent, 1,000%. And Jackson, I can't remember. 2021 was an anomaly because you had the Giants and the Dodgers back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. One won 107, one won 106, but not everybody was in it. You're talking right now about four teams fighting for playoff spots for three spots. You're talking about the three top teams still fighting for whether or not they're playing in the first round or they're playing in the divisional round. So you're talking 7 out of 15 teams in the National League that have some business to do, and the Cubs aren't completely out of it either. They've got
Yeah.
five. They're only out by 5 games.
Yeah. Like I said, they could be a big beneficiary of everybody beating up on each other and slipping at the end.
Mhm,
They weren't really on my. They haven't been that consistent for me. They've been playing better as of late, but
mhm.
uh,
No,
to,
agreed.
to me, they're very much on the outside. It, but
That's
hey,
no, no, no. That's
hey,
true.
what do I know? The Cubs can win 10 of 13. And a team like Arizona or San Diego or the Mets can lose 10 of 13, and all of a sudden it's a different story.
Preach, preach. So, okay. So my number one goes along with numbers as well. This is the first time in a long time where I don't know a path to 100 victories for any team in the MLB, and you're only going to have three teams that lose 100 games. Obviously, the White Sox. Sorry, White Sox, you've already gotten there. You're at 115. Um, the the Rockies have 93, and Miami has 95. So you're probably those are the only three teams. Next closest team to that is the Angels at 89. I don't think they're going to lose 11 of the last 14 or whatever.
No,
Uh,
they need to win 3 games to not lose 100 games.
right,
They're very capable of doing that.
right. So to get to the triple digits, I don't think you're going to see any team. Philadelphia's the closest on the win side. That's 11. We've just talked about Philadelphia having a little bit of a rough schedule. They still got to go through the Mets, the Brewers. I don't know that Philly's going to win 10 out of their next 14. Could happen, but as of right now, I'm making an official call saying that nobody is going to win 100 games this season in the MLB, and there's only three teams that are going to lose 100 games. That's the White Sox, the Marlins, and the Rockies. Fight
Yeah.
me on this, Jackson.
I'm going to piggyback on that comment. There's no 100-game winners, and it doesn't feel like one team is more overwhelming than the rest. Injury,
2,000%.
yeah, injuries have really kind of leveled the playing field. You
Uh-huh.
know, so they say. Because I feel like Philadelphia has some major holes at the back of the rotation in the bullpen. Their lineup is a little lackluster in the end. The Dodgers are dealing with tons of rotational injuries. If the Braves slip in, they got all those lineup injuries. The Padres have had a fair share of injuries, so the Diamondbacks. The Padres and the
Mhm.
Diamondbacks have recovered as of late. The Brewers have had a ton of pitching injuries. It just goes on and on. Teams like Baltimore, it just feels like one of those years where you get in and it's just one series at a time. And I think that's it's going to be stressful playoff baseball, but it's going to be good playoff baseball. And these next 2 weeks are kind of like the app
1,000%.
they're the appetizer, because the
Mhm.
mentality is going to be one series at a time to get into the postseason. And I think this is what makes September and October baseball so special. Is you're never out of it until you're out of it.
Right.
100, it's a
So
marathon.
so here's the funny thing about this too, Jackson. As you're talking about this, and I'm pulling up some stuff that we're gonna have some fun talking about in a second on my number two. But here's the thing that I think is funny about it is you're absolutely right. It's you going back to your last comment to begin the thing. I know everybody thinks April, May, we're getting adjusted. Okay. So right now, if you are the Seattle Mariners, the Baltimore Orioles, the Kansas City Royals, even the Houston Astros, right? Or the Dodgers. Let's say you don't lose three of those games in April, May on just mental mistakes or physical mistakes, but you actually win them. Does 3 games make a difference now? You bet it does.
With 15 games, yes, it feels like an insurmountable amount. The three extra games you would have.
That's what drives me nuts too about the stuff at the beginning. It's just April. It doesn't matter. Yes, it does. Watch when you miss the playoffs in September by a game, and then you tell me April didn't matter.
Yeah, really is a marathon, and baseball showing why it has the best regular season because it's you know a team like Detroit who looked dead on arrival at the trade deadline has somehow they're playing for something.
Yeah, they're playing for something now.
You know,
What you
they
got
might
number
not,
two?
let's go to that. They might not make it, but the Detroit Tigers have risen from the dead.
Yes.
And Bill, these Detroit Tigers are sitting 2.5 games back of the final wild card spot, and they're in a really unique position. They start a series with Kansas City tonight. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I did not see this coming after the trade deadline they had. They traded away their best starting pitcher, Jack Flaherty, and
Yep.
they've somehow they've pieced it together. They've looked good. They've pitched well. They've had timely hitting. But for me, they have a really big advantage here if they can play well against Kansas City
Yep.
and Baltimore this week. They get 3 against Tampa Bay, and they finish the season at home against the White Sox.
hmm hmm
So
So it's funny that you mentioned that because that was where I was going to go with number two,
yeah,
but I'll piggyback on yours in a second.
yeah,
Three against Kansas City. Let's just say that they take 2 out of 3 here. Three against Baltimore. Okay, who knows? Then you've got 6 games with teams that aren't going to be in the playoffs. Aren't going to be in the playoffs. Does that change something? I don't know. This Detroit team, like you said, at the break was dead on arrival. They took 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers at the All-Star break, at the trade deadline, trade away their best pitcher. Now all of a sudden, they're 2.5 games away from making the playoffs. Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm.
They just took a series from Baltimore. They play them again this weekend. It's going to be this AL wild card is arguably as interesting as the NL wild card because the Mariners also have risen from the dead and have fought back to playoff. They were like 8 games back in the wild card at some point. They're 2.5 back, and it's a dogfight. Like I said, these teams all play each other. Houston plays Baltimore. They play Detroit. I think Kansas City and Minnesota play each other again. Kansas City has to play Detroit again. So it's guys, just watch baseball. I know football season just started and everyone's excited. Your fantasy team's going to suck in 3 weeks again too. It's fine. Fantasy football, your fantasy football team's going to be out of it in 3 weeks. So don't even bother.
Yeah, your team's going to suck in 3 weeks again. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
yeah. Don't waste your time watching that. Sit down and watch some baseball these next 2 weeks because it's going to be the most exciting sports you've seen all year.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to piggyback off yours. My number two was going to be Detroit versus Minnesota. I'm going to pull Minnesota's schedule. Now, this is the Minnesota schedule, and I'm going to make a bold prediction here. Okay, you ready? Minnesota has got the Guardians for 4 in Cleveland. Then they go to Boston, and Boston's still fighting for their lives. Albeit Boston's on the outside, but they're still fighting for something. They want to end strong. Then they come home to play Miami, and they come home to play the
Baltimore.
Orioles. Now, if for some reason you are trying to figure out how this all plays itself out in the wild card, you at present you've got the Orioles at +4.5, Kansas City at +2.5, Minnesota, and then the Mariners and the Tigers at behind by 2.5 games. I'm gonna make a bold prediction here. I'm gonna say the Orioles get that top billing, the Royals get the second billing, and that the Detroit Tigers get the third billing. Then Minnesota misses the playoffs by a game or two. Tell me I'm wrong, Jackson.
Uh, I don't think the Tigers have quite enough firepower. I think they're going to miss it just barely.
No, it's the heart of it. I didn't say that they're going to win a World Series, but there's something in that water over there in Motown right now. So what happens if they swept the Royals this weekend or this week?
What happens if they get swept? You know?
Well, if they get swept, their season's over, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I shouldn't say that because Minnesota could get swept, but if Minnesota gets swept and or loses 3 games in a row, and the Tigers lose 3 games in a row, Seattle could limp in. But I'm going to say either Seattle or Detroit takes that. I'm going to say that Minnesota misses the playoffs
I think Detroit has a tougher schedule. I just think having to play Baltimore and Houston.
against against 4 games against um Cleveland, 3 games against the
Red
Orioles.
Sox and 3 games against. Yeah,
Jackson,
look, I
Top
think
Fan
I
Rivalry.
think
Hold on. Top Fan Rivalry followers. I'm going to help Jackson real quick. Jackson, my good friend, I've known you for a while. Listen, when you feel resistance, stop twisting, take the Q-tip out of your ear, throw it away.
I just think the Twins are a better team than the Tigers.
Then that may be true, but it's not about who's that. So, did you think that the Diamondbacks, or did you think the Rangers were the best teams in baseball last season?
I thought the Rangers had a pretty darn good team.
Did you think they were going to go to the World Series?
No, but
I rest my case.
I did think they were going to make the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, of course you did.
I
I could have told you that. Even
I
when they
have
lost out and they had to play in the wild card round, I knew they were going to
I
make
have
the playoffs.
zero faith in the Tigers making the playoffs. I'm sorry.
Okay, Jackson, here's the thing. Here's what we're going to do. Okay. If the Tigers or the Mariners make the playoffs over the Twins, okay, the next time you're out here, you're buying lunch. We'll go to In and
Okay,
Out.
sure.
Okay. Flip side's true. Okay. We'll go to In and Out. Maybe we'll go to Ruby's. I don't know if you know anybody that works at Ruby's, but maybe we'll go to Ruby's and get lunch.
Sure.
Oh, too fun. Okay. Before we get to number 3, Top Fan Rivalry followers, do not forget a couple things. One, you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel right here. This is on YouTube. This is also in our locker room. That's number 1. Number 2, you want to hit that follow button on Twitter or X. Please give us a follow there. We're on Instagram all the time, but we are kicking up our Twitter accounts. Number 3, you're going to want to get access to the locker room. It's $25 for a year. You're going to use what code, Jackson?
Use code Jackson, get 10% off your locker room access.
You're going to use 25, you're going to use the code Jackson in all capital letters. You can get 10% off that $25. What does that get you? Well, this week, next week coming up, we have Russell Holmes, former Olympian, for a private event, private virtual event. If you're not a locker room access member, you don't get to come. Okay, it's just that simple, right? So go get your locker room. We have softball tournaments, which we're going to talk about here in a second. We have virtual things. We have Fan Fest. Fan Fest is getting announced on Wednesday, which dates they are in, where they are at, and the price point, the early bird special. You're a locker room access member. You want to get there. Okay, if you're not, you're going to miss out. You're going to have FOMO. So just letting you know, go to topfanrivalry.com right now. Buy your locker room. It's $25. Use the code Jackson, all capital letters. You'll save yourself 10%. Okay, Jackson, I need your number 3 because I got a fun number 3.
All right. I need you to hear me out on this one.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Here, you can't start it out like that, Jackson.
Does Chris Sale deserve MVP votes?
No,
No.
no, no.
I'm going to tell you why he does.
Okay.
He's only had 2 starts this season where he's allowed more than 3 earned runs, Bill.
How many
2
days a week
starts.
does he play?
He plays once a week, but he's 17-3. The
Okay.
team's 21-7 when he pitches. He's got a 2.35 ERA. He
Yep.
has 172 innings pitched, 219 strikeouts.
Hmm.
He has spurred the top of the Atlanta Braves rotation.
No,
I'm not
no,
saying should he win MVP. I'm saying he should get MVP votes.
no,
He's got
no. And
he's got a
I'll tell you why. The MVP voting is a lot like running for class president in junior high school, right? I remember who our class president was my 8th grade year. Okay. I wanted to run for class president, but I saw who was running. I knew I couldn't beat her, right? She was like super popular. I was not, I ran for treasurer. I won. Life was good. Okay. And I didn't do anything as treasurer. I'm not going to lie to you there. But here's the thing, it's become a popularity contest. When you've got a guy that's going to go 50-50, he wins. Case in point, when you got a guy that goes 40-70, he wins, right? Period. And there's no discussion about it. Ronald Mookie Betts had a great season last season. Freddie Freeman had a great season last season. His teammate Matt Olson had what, 53 home runs last season? Didn't even get considered. Didn't even get considered. Now, does he deserve it? Does he deserve some votes? Sure. Is he a lock for Cy Young? 100%.
Oh
There's
yeah.
no doubt in my mind.
I guess let me rephrase the question. Would you give him down like second or third place votes for MVP?
Third.
Okay.
My first vote is going to be Shohei, and that's not me being a homer. If the dude goes 50-50, he's done something that nobody else has done,
Yeah,
right?
I'm not disagreeing with you in that.
Okay. Number two would be probably Francisco Lindor. Now, you and I talked about this, about if he would have done it all season, it would be a different story. But he has really sparked that offense and sparked the Mets. So sure, I would probably number three would be Chris Sale. And I'm
Yeah,
looking at his numbers. I agree with you. But
yeah. It's just 6.3 WAR out of a pitcher is just
mm,
it's staggering. And in today's baseball, you know, to be as consistent as he has been all season, I think if you take out his one bad start against Oakland, like if you the 8 runs, his ERA drops to like 1.8 or something like that,
okay,
which
but you
is just
also look at Zach Wheeler, right, from Philadelphia, 15 and 6, 2.6. Opponent batting average 1.92.
well, I get that.
Yeah. Like you can look, I mean, there's a lot of great pitchers on here. You're looking at numbers now. Does Zach Wheeler deserve the Cy Young? Eh,
I
probably
would
not.
ar-
Not against Chris Sale.
I would argue that Zach Wheeler is the Phillies MVP though.
Yeah, and it's
Easily,
not Nick Castellanos.
yeah, easily the most valuable player on that Phillies roster is Zach
It's
Wheeler.
not Nick Castellanos.
I know. I I'm
So
just sparking the thought that we should think of pitchers when it's valuable. I get the whole popularity contest. I know Shohei's doing what Shohei does, but
here's the thing: if Shohei were a 30-30 guy this season, would I double up on Chris Sale being MVP and Cy Young? Maybe. I'm not gonna lie to you. Maybe.
yeah,
Okay, because I don't think Francisco Lindor is over that threshold. I would look at the numbers on I would look at the numbers here on this and go, oh yeah. Absolutely 100%, right? But unfortunately, Shohei, and it has nothing to do, everybody, it has nothing to do with him being a Dodger. I don't care if he
no,
was a Cub. He's having a he's having a season. And imagine if he was pitching. Imagine if he had 10 wins to go along with this.
yeah. Look here, look, no known Dodger hater here. Shohei's probably MVP,
Maybe.
barring some tomfoolery by the voters,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
we all know how they are. But
Yes, yes,
anyways, I just wanted to shout out Chris Sale and saying he's having probably as close to an MVP season as you can have as a starting pitcher.
yes. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, and you tell
All
me if
right.
I'm wrong. Aaron Judge is having a great season. Okay, he's hitting 321. I'm looking at the numbers right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's hitting 321, 53 home runs, 132 RBIs, 34 doubles, 169 hits. Is that the Juan Soto factor, or does Juan Soto have nothing to do with it?
I think since he's done it before, these
Mm-hmm,
numbers twice before, actually, because he's hit
mm-hmm,
over 50 home runs before, I'd say no. I think Soto is benefiting probably more from Judge than Judge is from Soto. Because Juan Soto's having a career year. I think he's at just about 40 home runs, which he's never really gotten close to.
mm-hmm.
Uh, he's having massive on base numbers. He's had a ton of RBI opportunities. And I think Soto's one of those guys that thrives in the spotlight. We saw him when he played in the World Series that one year. He was just absolutely big for the Washington Nationals. Every time he came up, it seemed like he was in a big situation. He delivered.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got a 981 OPS. Yeah, he's at 39 home runs. That would be a career high. Um,
Yep.
414 on base percentage, just disgusting. But I think that Soto is benefiting far more from Aaron Judge, and I think he's going to get a very, very nice contract this offseason with numbers like that, whether
Maybe.
it be from the Yankees or the Mets.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know who's
So
going to throw ridiculous amounts of money at him, but I think Soto's going to head into this offseason. He's going to break a record for large contract. He's only 25, Bill.
he's only 25. Exactly. I'm going to argue the opposite to what you said, and I agree with what you said, but I'm going to argue the opposite for a second. Okay. I'm going to say that without Juan Soto, Aaron Judge is not doing what Aaron Judge is doing. And here's my argument. Home runs. Giancarlo Stanton has 25, 64 RBIs, but he's only played in 105 games. Okay. Behind that, you have Anthony Rizzo, 8 home runs, 31 RBIs, and he's played in 83 games. Okay. So typically the guys that protect Judge weren't on the field this season. If I'm a pitcher, I'm looking to get Judge out because I don't want to put Judge on and have to face Soto, who's got 101 RBIs. I'm going to make the argument that Juan Soto has given Aaron Judge the opportunity to hit more. Now, I agree with you. Had a number of seasons where he's hit close to 50 and or 50 or 60 home runs. I agree with you there. But remember, those seasons, Anthony Rizzo, guys like Anthony Rizzo and Giancarlo Stanton were on the field most of the time. Okay, so
Well,
combined, there's been 148 games, so times that out by two, right? So we'll call it, what was that, 298 or 96 games, right? Anthony Rizzo and Giancarlo Stanton of the 296 games, adding them up together, have been on the field a total of 188 times. So just over half.
well, yeah. Well, here, my argument that there's no correlation. You look at the 2022 season. He only had one other person that lined up with an OPS over 800. It was
Mhm.
Anthony Rizzo,
Yep.
his primary protection. Uh, I mean, it probably certainly helps that Soto's in the lineup, but I don't think that the power numbers are coming from Juan Soto. I think Judge's batting average is definitely benefiting because
Yeah,
they're either missing over the plate or giving them nothing to hit.
2000%. 2000%. But my argument is just simple, right? My argument is that you have a scenario where if I'm a pitcher, first of all, I'm thinking my lucky stars if I'm a pitcher and Aaron Judge only gets a single. If I get him out, that's a bonus. But if I only give up a single, God bless the USA. But for the most part, I don't want him to get on if he's batting two because I don't want to face Juan Soto with a guy on or two guys on, right?
You know?
So that was my argument for it. Do you
I
have any
see.
shout outs or any honorable mentions?
Uh, just for anyone who loves movies in general, including several baseball movies, rest in peace, James Earl Jones. I thought I'd give him a
Yes.
shout out. Uh, he's in Field of Dreams. He's in Sandlot. He's in a ton of other movies. He's in the Ringo Longo Boys. For those of you who've seen that movie,
He also narrates the movie at the Negro League Museum.
yes. So sad passing. Great man. Um, you know, and I think he's one of the reasons as a kid that you know having him in the movies I grew up watching. I
Yeah,
really got a love for baseball just because of his passion and how great of a man he was. So I just wanted to honor James Earl Jones, and then
James Earl
on a
Jones.
on a more hostile note, MLB don't put ads on your helmets during the playoffs. Just stop.
On a more hostile note, let me just tell you how I really feel.
Yeah,
Fellas, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you how I really feel.
yeah.
Don't piss me off now.
We're on the emotional high of being sad. Now we're going to be angry.
There
Just
you go.
yeah,
Well, my shout out, Jackson, I got to tell you, yesterday was phenomenal. Okay, much love. Hats off to Chris Parsons and his team over there at the Sugarland Space Cowboys. Garrett Green, Gerald Chantes, Amy, Michael Guthrie. These guys are amazing. Guys and gals are amazing. So yesterday, Jackson, was Fan Appreciation Day. Top Fan Rivalry sponsored that day. We passed out our stickers with our barcodes. Um, they had kids run the bases. I threw out a first pitch. I saw the commercial twice up on the big screen last night. Or yesterday. It was amazing. Chris did such a phenomenal job. That partnership between Top Fan Rivalry and the Sugarland Space Cowboys is top notch. And I will tell anybody that will listen that Chris Parsons and Garrett Green and Gerald Sanchez and Amy and Michael, all these people made such a phenomenal impact and experience that I can't wait to do it again next year. They are absolutely great people. They are a top-notch group. Jackson, you got to get out to Sugarland, Texas. First of all, it's one of the best minor league ballparks that I've been to, but these people are phenomenal people, and I can't say thank you enough. We had two suites yesterday. Friday night, Chris got us into the game. We got the buffet. We hung out. We watched things. We got on the field. We hung out with one of their bat boys who is just absolutely amazing. His name's Tank. So hats off to all of those group of people. We love you. We appreciate you over here at Top Fan. Jackson, you got to get out there. next season you and I are going to have to go out to Sugarland together and hang out with
All
our
right.
friends.
That sounds good. Sounds like fun.
So, all right, Jackson, we've done the weekly review. We're going to do another one probably this week. So everybody pay attention and we'll get up on it again. Jackson, thanks so much. And let's do it again. Yeah.
Yeah. Enjoy the glory that is September baseball.
The glory that is September baseball. Absolutely. Have a good one, all.